there, my name is Adam. I studied computer science with games development with industrial experience at the University of Hull and graduated about 6.5 years ago to then set up a company with two of my fellow classmates called BetaJester, which we've now been running for about 6.5 years. Very early on, I think within the first 3 days of being at university, one of my housemates had met another group of house people, another house somewhere in Hull, and invited them over to our house. And in that group was a guy called Josh, so I met him for the first time in sort of the first 3 days, who I then 4 years later went on to start the company with. Alongside, about 2 weeks later, I got into a lecture late and just sort of rushed to find a seat. And the seat that I found was next to Ryan, who was the other person who I started the company with. So within about the first 2-3 weeks of being at university, I'd met the two people that I would then, years later set the company with, that we've now been going. So we met 10 years ago, and we've been running the company for 6.5 years. And for me, the big thing was our course basically provided these opportunities for a thing called a game jam, which is basically a short 24-hour competition where you try and make a video game in 24 hours, which seems absolutely ridiculous from the outside. Like, how is that possible? But when you saw, because they put everybody together, so the first time we did it, we were first years and have been coding for 12 weeks, very beginners, but you're seeing people who have done it for 3 years, 4 years, who can make really interesting games, and you can see the path from where you are now to where you could be in 4 years' time. So it was almost a clever trick to sort of see what the potential was. And the first game jam I ever did was with me and Ryan and other people were working on bits and pieces, and it wasn't until second year when it was me and Ryan and Josh in the same team. And in that team, we made the game together. We had another friend with us as well, and we created something that it worked okay, but it was the first opportunity of us sort of three working together and making a game. And throughout the following years, we ended up also at university. We sort of lived in the same house. Obviously, we were doing computer science. We made more games just as a group. And it was only when we were coming to the end of our final year, and we were in a lucky opportunity where the university was very supportive of people starting their own companies. We had Paul Goldsthorpe at the Enterprise Centre at the University of Hull, who gave us lots of mentoring support and helped advise us on what it's like to start a company, what's important, what to keep track of. We had the support of the local games industry, we had support of mentors and all this kind of thing, that we thought, you know what, actually, let's give this a go. We're in a position where we had really low overheads coming out of university. None of us were married, none of us had kids or a house or anything like that. And we thought, let's just try it and see where we get to. And that was 6.5 years ago, and still kind of going now. So if you're a student now with a business idea, the first thing I would do is go and speak to your university's enterprise or business kind of group. Every university is going to have them, because universities love supporting businesses growing out of them, because it's useful for the university, it's good advertising, and it's good for the students. So go and find the person who's there to help you. They can give you free advice, which is not something that comes often once you start a business. They can talk to you about businesses that have run before. They'll help you with your idea, help you frame it into a possible sort of business model and what that might look like. But I think an important thing is to sort of take a step back and decide, is this something that you want to do now? It's important to recognize that running a business is very difficult. There's all these benefits of you're responsible for yourself, which means that you have to bring in the money that pays you, but then obviously you can pay yourself what you deserve. If you feel like if you make hundreds of millions of pounds, then A, wonderful and can have a job, but also B, you can pay yourself in whatever salary you want to balance that out, and that is wonderful. But you also have the stress of the responsibility to make that happen. It's not straightforward to just turn an idea into a business overnight. So definitely, if you're a student now and you've got that drive and that passion, and you think you've got that idea that could be worth something, that could make a stable business, go and speak to local experts at your university. You should have a local enterprise partnership or a LEP, which will also support you. And speak to past students who have started businesses as well. The university should be keeping track of them, alumni who have gone on to be successful and unsuccessful. Both sets of stories are really important. And just speak to all of them about, what's it like to start a business? What do I need to know? And then decide for yourself if it's right for you. So in terms of sacrifices to run the business, the first one was definitely financial, because starting a business with very practically zero capital, it's hard because you're relying on yourself. No one's going to pay you. You've got no standard income. You're having to set up the company, so you have to live very, very lean. So when we first started, me and my two co-founders and a couple other people all lived together, which meant that we were basically spending 24 hours a day with each other, which I do not recommend for anyone. And we were eating whatever, ramen noodles. We were living light, not trying to, spend too much or do too much or whatever it might be. And even then, I drove into the bare bones of my student overdraft and that kind of thing, just to sort of sustain myself over a period of time. So when we started, our first, we had a very small paid contract just before we started full time as the business, and then it was 2.5 months before our first paid piece of work. And so you're trying to survive on whatever you've got left for that period of time. So certainly the first big sacrifice was kind of financial. After that, I think the sacrifices have all come from not specifically like I've chosen to sacrifice something, but more things like not lost opportunities, but opportunities that have gone in different directions. So things like, I have friends who've got credits on really big games that have been released, which is wonderful, and that would be a cool thing to have, But the balance of that is that if I do get a name, a game published and all that kind of thing, that'll be my name slap bang on the front and that kind of thing, and on top of the credits and all that kind of stuff, and I'll have ownership of that. And that's the balance, is that you are sacrificing kind of smaller opportunities or being part of a much bigger picture, but you have less ownership over it. For maybe you have to be the driving force behind it, so maybe it takes longer, but then when it does happen, that will be your thing and you'll have ownership over that. So it's more things like that.